go without talking about COVID-19. COVID-19, the statistics we are getting is really related to what is happening now. There are so many death rates for obese people. So when you're obese, your death rate is equal to smokers. So for a long time, we know that smoking is worse than obesity, but now obesity and smoking is at par. Death rates for also obese young adults. And when you talk about obese young adults, we're talking about from 25 to about 49 years old. So 49 is still considered a young adult. And you can imagine that death rate, when you're obese, the death rate is as high as for older adults who are 65 plus. So it means that our health is not good today, because when you're younger, you're supposed to be in better health. But now the prevalence of fatalities is the same as for older adults. So, and of course, we know and we've been told underlying medical conditions increase your fatalities. So diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease, liver problem, all these things increase your fatalities. And we have low immune system, which also increases your fatalities. And that's like, it's very easy to know that you have a low immune system. If you get frequently, if you're getting colds, flus and colds frequently, you're always getting some upper respiratory tract infections. You have a flu, you have to take some antibiotics, and that means that your immune system is low. And as we go on, we'll see how that happens. So COVID-19, this pandemic, has highlighted how dangerous it is to be unhealthy. It has brought it to the forefront. So I hope that all of us and our friends and relatives are taking this opportunity to make changes so that you can have a better, a healthier lifestyle. And it's also dangerous to be obese and to have chronic conditions. So Dr. Njeru and family, I think it's a very good time to talk about this condition. So let's talk about what are these chronic conditions. So the advert reads treatment, management, prevention of chronic conditions. There are so many, but most of the time we concentrate on diabetes and hypertension, but that's nothing. So let's quickly look at them. We have hypertension, we have hyperlipidemia. This means that you have very high cholesterol. Here is something that shows you what cholesterol is. I hope you can see it. This is a clean blood vessel. And this is a blood vessel that's starting to get clogged. And as time goes on, your blood vessels get clogged and completely gets blocked. So when you get a blood clot, that's it. You'll get a massive cardiac arrest, which means you'll die or you'll be left like a vegetable for both of them. So cholesterol, that's hyperlipidemia, very, very common. Angina atherosclerosis, contributed to also by cholesterol. Type 2 diabetes, it is a problem, and I have as young as 80-year-olds who are type 2 diabetes. So why are you doing this to your children? It means we are not taking care of yourself, and so you're also not taking care of your children. How do we have the prevalence of obesity in children in Kenya is like 15% higher than adults, and I have young children who are diabetic type 2. So are you not just taking care of yourself, or you're also not taking care of your family? Obesity is a big problem. And obesity, nowadays, obesity is not defined as, you don't have to have a really big stomach to show that, you don't have to be huge to show that you're obese. You must just have this much fat. This is only about 2.5 kilos of fat. The minute you have 2.5 kilos of fat, it means that we have a problem. Remember, just 2.5 kilos, this body has to produce blood vessels for this fat. It's already straining your heart and straining all your organs. So if you're just adding, you don't have to be 20 kilos overweight to have a problem. You need to be 5 kilos overweight to have a problem. And of course, we know if the fat is deposited in your stomach, we also know that that's a problem. But most importantly now, the other problem is liver disease. Please. Liver disease is a big problem, and liver disease means you're having fatty liver. So as long as you eat healthy and you're not obviously overweight, but you're unhealthy, you could have a fatty liver. That is also a chronic disease that's killing people. You know, when somebody dies of a heart attack, you're thinking, this person is so skinny, how could they die? But a lot goes on. As long as you're not healthy, you're not eating healthy, you're not sleeping, we will see this. coming. Kidney problem, this is lifestyle. Alzheimer's disease, lifestyle. Breast cancer, lifestyle. Prostate and colorectal cancer, lifestyle. We can prevent all these conditions. Osteoarthritis, gout, fibromyalgia, all these are lifestyle. And these statistics are very high in Kenya. We're not even talking about European or American statistics. We're talking about local statistics. Multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, a problem. And you know, people don't normally think about their stool and that it is important to check the type of stool you have. But we're going to talk about all that. Please mute. Thank you. And then we have irritable bowel syndrome. We have fructose intolerance. We have non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And then we have depression and anxiety. So if you thought that chronic disease is just diabetes and hypertension, no, there are so many. But before I bore you too much, let's go on to find out, talk also a little bit about the immune system. This is COVID pandemic period. How is your immune system? What are you doing to help it? What are you doing to stay safe? You know, staying safe, wearing your mask, stay in your house, not going anywhere, that's good enough. But it's not that good, because what else are you doing? Because if your immune system is low, just a little bit of exposure is going to take you down. So immune system, we know, is a network of tissues and organs and your cells that work together in unity to prevent bacteria, fungi, viruses. So, and of course, this immune system is controlled by your diet, lifestyle, and environment. So it's not just diet. I know people are taking a lot of ginger, a lot of onion, all these concoctions. But if you're doing that and you're not sleeping properly, then you're not helping the situation. If you're taking a lot of ginger and you don't eat healthy, you're not paying attention. And also, if you live in a very toxic, polluted environment, then you're not going to help the system. So your body needs a balance. So we cannot talk about this without talking about COVID, without talking about your immune system. And the knowledge of your immune system, just having a low immune system is already a picture of what's happening in your body. There is a lot more going on, but not just the immune system. So let's take a small quiz. I have 10 questions. I'm going to move the slide every 30 seconds. Answer the question and be as truthful as possible, but don't think about it too much. So number one, I usually exercise regularly. Yes, but not regular. No exercise plan at all. Choose the one that represents you, and then let's carry on. So Njeru, should I read it or should I just let it and then I slide after every few seconds?
Just put it on the screen so that we may see, and then people will respond. Yes.
No, they need to write it down on somewhere, not respond to me. They need to write it down, and then I'll tell you how to.
Number one, this is the response. Number two, this is the response, like that. Okay.
Yes. All okay, right. So let's go. I'm counting.
Share your screen.
My screen is shared already.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Maybe you can put speaker view so everybody can see that. Okay, I'll move to the next slide. Okay, I'm moving to the next slide. Slide. Question 7 and 8. Okay, last question, 9 to 10. This is how to score. For every answer that if you choose A, the score is 0. If you chose B, the score is 1. If you chose C, the score is 2. So add all your scores and out of 20. So Dr. Njeri, when you've added, please say so that I know. I'm using you.
Okay, I'm almost there. 1,
A equals 0, B equals 1, C equals 2.
I have 12 out of 20.
Okay, very good. So I guess everybody has got their scores. Thank you very much. So let's go.
People can write on the chat. People can write on the chat what they have gotten.
Yeah, let's write on the chat. Quickly write on the chat what you have. Let's say 8 over 20, 9 over 20. Yeah, good. 11 out of 20. Yeah, 6 out of 20, 12 out of 20. Okay, very good. 4, 5, 16. Very good. So thank you for participating. So what do your results mean? Actually, you're supposed to score 0. If you score 0, it means that you have very good habits. But so what happens if you got 0 to 5 or 1 to 5 points, then it means that you have low stress habits. But as long as you have some habits, this will always increase your risk of getting all these chronic conditions. If you get between 6 and 15 points, you have moderate stress habits, still very, very bad. You're going to, if you don't change, you're going to live long enough to get one of these chronic conditions. And if you are in 16 and above, I saw 116 there, these are very high stress habits. And I'm just using the word stress to make it not sound so bad, but these are really bad habits. So now let's go. Now you have an idea of some things that you do that increase your risk for cardiovascular disease. So I'll start by 1, wise use of forks. So what mistakes are we making when we talk about your diet? There are many mistakes we make, but let's make it simple first. When you go to school, where this is high primary school, why do we eat? Energy, bodybuilding, development, repair, and maintenance. It means you actually need to eat everything. And to be honest, 70% of a regular person knows something about nutrition and knows some accurate information about nutrition. So we all eat healthy. We all have our food. We all eat, starches, vegetables, and fruits. But where are the mistakes that we make? So all those things we've had in that chart and others that are not included are some of the mistakes we make. But I'm just going to pick 2. So the first one I'll pick is the timing of meals. So even though we eat healthy and we know what to do, when we eat too little at the wrong time and too much at the wrong time, then we have a problem. Excuse me. On a normal day, we are going to work. We wake up in the morning, we're going to work. So we need more energy. And this is not rocket science. Just think about it. It's nature. In the evening, you're going to sleep. You're going to rest. The body needs to rest. You need less energy. So the common mistakes we make is we eat too little at the wrong time and we eat too much at the wrong time. And what's the effect of this? If you don't eat breakfast, your brain needs ready glucose for energy. So it means that you don't eat breakfast, you don't have glucose for energy. Your body uses stress hormone for energy, and that causes fatigue at the end of the day. A lot of people don't eat, who don't take breakfast. Studies have shown that you have less than 20% concentration, you have frequent headaches, and you're always extremely tired. And so you've not eaten breakfast, and so you're really tired at the end of the day. Very, very tired, just because of your brain was not using glucose that comes from food, it was using other, stress hormones instead. So that's a problem number 1. So remember the fatigue in the evening at the end of the day. So let's go. The second mistake is we're eating too much at the wrong time. When we eat too much at dinner, supper, remember, naturally, you're going to sleep. Your body needs to rest. So you eat food, and maybe you eat something like protein, meat, chicken, fish. All this is digested for 7 to 8 hours. As long as there's digestion, your brain is active and you're not going to sleep properly. You're not going to sleep properly. And I'll talk about sleep towards the end, but let's just remember that. Remember, you've not eaten breakfast, you're tired in the evening. You eat a large dinner, you're not sleeping properly, you are waking up in the morning, you are tired and fatigued. So at night, what happens? In short, The brain stores new information, your body repairs cells, the body gets rid of toxic waste, the body restores energy and releases molecules and hormones and proteins. Your nerve cells communicate and reorganize, which supports healthy brain function. And really at night, you're supposed to be rejuvenated. But when you have that large meal at night, your body is not going to go to accomplish these processes efficiently. And so when this becomes a habit, you're always feeling tired and fatigued. So you're tired in the morning because you didn't sleep properly. You're tired in the evening because you don't take breakfast. And sometimes you don't eat anything, or you eat not healthy food, and the problem gets worse. Now think about it. If you're hypertensive, can I control your blood pressure if you're always tired at the end of the day and eating too much at night? We will not control it. Your blood pressure is only going to get worse. Every time you go to your physicians, your medication increases. If you're diabetic, we cannot control it either. You stay long hours without food. Some people, because of poor diabetes education, you get low blood sugar. So you're always having what we call reactive hypoglycemia. Your blood sugar is low, you're fainting, you're always sick, you have to get off from work, of course, running a risk of losing your job. And then at night, you eat a lot of food and maybe you still take very low medication. You're not exercising, you're not moving. That sugar is going to be there. The body is going to metabolize it, but it's not going to use it. It's going to store it. So then these two are the ones I found, these two mistakes we make, eating too little at the wrong time and too much at the wrong time. It is very, very costly. Even if somebody is recovering from cancer treatment, chemotherapy, you're recovering from sickness. If you don't eat healthy, you're in hospital longer, your medications, your dosages are higher, your antibiotics are more expensive, and it's just costly for everybody. And what mistakes are we making? We're eating too little at the wrong time, and we're eating too much at the wrong time. So of course, the consequences, like I've said, fatigue and burnout, low productivity, low endurance, your weight. The easiest way to gain weight is to eat nothing for breakfast, stay long hours without food, and eat a large meal at night. Even if you want to, and by the way, when you eat only one large meal at night, you're not even eating a lot. You're not even eating the total energy you're taking during the day. But remember, excuse me. Breathe again. Remember, when you stay long hours without food, your body conserves energy. You're telling the body, prepare for starvation. Starvation is coming. But every day you're eating something at night. So there's no total starvation, and the body continues to store fat. Remember the fat? This is only 2.5 kilos that we're talking about. So of course, then like I've said, we cannot control your diabetes, your blood pressure, your cancer. We cannot manage any of those chronic conditions if you make just those two mistakes. Too much at the wrong time and too little at the wrong time. So how about at night? There's something called the circadian rhythm. This is the natural cycle, or let's call it, this is the natural clock that tells you it's time to go to sleep and it's time to wake up. And this cycle, it completely controls everything. Your internal clock, which controls hormonal production, rejuvenation of the system, excretion of nutrients, it is very important. And this circadian rhythm is just night. So you have to have that clock. But what has happened over the years, most of us, we don't sleep when we are supposed to sleep. Corporate Kenyan. And now that we are working at home, I myself are finding that I'm actually working longer hours. 7 o'clock, I eat, I still want to say, let me still do 2 hours or 3 hours. And so you end up sleeping late. And when you sleep late, it affects your feeding patterns, affects your brainwave activity, hormone production, cell regeneration, and other important biological processes are interfered with. So what are some of the things that actually affect our circadian rhythm? That is your clock that tells you it's time to go to bed and it's time to wake up. When you spend long hours under lights, like you sit in offices with lighting, and then you're always working, 1 in the morning, you're still having that light, it affects your circadian rhythm. So when you go to sleep, you're not going to fall very fast. You won't fall asleep as fast as you should. Normally what happens, you have what you call rapid eye movement sleep. So you start going to sleep, you're supposed to, like the first 45 minutes, you've completely slept, and then you get into what we call rapid eye movement, which is like 3 to 4 hours. It can be interrupted, but then you go again. So you find that you're sleeping 6 to 8 hours very well. But when you sleep at 1 o'clock and you wake up at 5, how many hours are those? And because you have to think about your traffic. So what happens? So lighting interferes with your circadian rhythm. When you eat too much at night, it messes up your circadian rhythm. When you're dehydrated, you do not drink sufficient water, it interferes with your circadian rhythm. And of course, when you have interfered with that, because it's not performing efficiently, and we cannot prevent these chronic conditions, and we cannot circadian rhythm, you interfere it with your sleeping, your dehydration, lighting, too much food in the evening, lack of exercise, and of course, if you don't eat healthy, the situation is worse. And what happens at night when you are sleeping? You can see we have memory is restored. So when you start saying that your memory is poor, and you're only in your 40s, then we have a problem. So when you don't sleep properly, you have trouble thinking and concentration. You have more mood changes. You're likely to get an accident. You have a low immune system, like you've said. You have high blood pressure. Your risk of diabetes increases. Your weight increases. You have a low sex drive. You're married. You cannot meet your nightly obligations, both male and female, and that definitely increases stress and other problems. You have risk of heart disease, and you have poor balance. So we've talked about 3 problems: too little at the wrong time, too much at the wrong time, and having messing up with your circadian rhythm. How about exercise? One of my oldest saying that I like very much goes like this: if you can't make time for exercise, be ready to make time for illness. I find that I do not take these excuses from my patients. They're like, oh, I'm not able to make time for exercise. That's not possible. You have 24 hours a day. Seriously, what are you doing that you can't make time, 30 minutes or 45 minutes to 1 hour for exercise? Remember, things like diet and exercise, these are the only things you do for yourself. This is the only investment you have in yourself. And I'm sure a lot of you have cars. You find cars, you take your car for service on time, you fuel on time, you put air pressure on your tires on time. So if you're doing that, if you're so efficient in managing your car, but you're not having a few minutes to exercise, just be ready for illness. That's all I can say. Exercise is important because it boosts your energy levels, mental health, weight loss, maintain your weight, keep fit and healthy. And also it helps you freedom to eat what you want when you exercise regularly. Plus, if I'm going to reduce your dosage of medication for diabetes, you need to exercise, because every 15 minutes of exercise, studies have shown, is a direct dosage of either insulin or the oral hypoglycemics you're taking. Hypertension, the same thing. Immunity, the same thing. If you exercise even just 15 minutes every day, you are not going to be touching your antibiotics, which unfortunately some of us take pretty often. So exercise is important. And when we exercise, I'd like to tell you that many studies are now showing that the most important exercise is actually your muscle endurance and muscle strength. That muscle, they call it, it's your currency. If you increase your muscle mass, and you don't have to work extremely hard to increase that, but yeah, you can walk, but walking eventually is not going to be enough. When you do some exercises that increase your muscle mass, your muscle utilizes sugar so much. So the more muscle you have, the more sugar you utilize. you're never going to be diabetic. If you're diabetic, you increase your muscle mass, your dosage of medication will come down. And I can tell you, one of my favorite topic is actually obesity and diabetes. And diabetes is the easiest condition to manage. In fact, you can reverse your diabetes very, very easily. Your exercise and your diet plays a role. So what are the solutions really? I'm trying to spend time so that I give some time for exercise, for questions. So I will finish in the next few minutes and then we have time for questions. So you know what your habits are. We've talked about 3 of them. If you scored 2 in eating too little at the wrong time, eating too much at the wrong time, exercise, then you know those are some of the major habits that you have to change. Let's not forget the natural doctors: sunshine, fresh air, exercise. People wake up early. Now, I don't know what's happening because the way people are working has changed. A lot of people are working from home. But I don't know if that's making it worse, because are you going out to get sunshine? One of the biggest problems we have now is lack of vitamin D. The prevalence is so high, yet we live in Africa where we have hot sun. And what happens? People wake up early in the morning to beat traffic. You get to the office at 6 until nighttime. Then you go home. You have no sun. That sunshine is so important for so many things, for your moods, for your immune system, for improved blood circulation. It is so important. So my dear friends, make time to have sunshine. It's free. Make time. 30 minutes a day, 15. Fresh air. Take time to walk. Sometimes go to the forest. In Nairobi, we have so many of these places, and somewhere else in the world. I saw some friends of mine checking from Zambia, Nigeria, US. You make time for sunshine and fresh air. Water. Please drink water. Rest. Take time to rest. Night is created for you to rest. So make that. If you pray, you should as well be obedient to what God says. Night is for rest. Even Jesus rested. Sorry to take you down that lane, but we cannot do without it. And laughter. So what you have to think about, am I getting some sunshine? Am I getting fresh air? Am I exercising? Do I drink enough water? Do I make an effort to eat healthy? Do I sleep? Do I laugh? And if you're not doing any of these things, then my friend, we have a problem. So let me tell you just a few secrets in diet. This is what a lot of people think is healthy. And so you have a healthy breakfast, cereals, you have toast, and you have fruit juice. But what we don't know is we are consuming so much sugar. So cornflakes, if you just have like a small bowl of cornflakes, is going to give you, sorry. Sorry about that. Is going to give you about 8.4 teaspoons of sugar. We're talking about 30 grams of cornflakes, which is maybe something that's just about half a cup. Your brown toast, one slice of bread is going to give you 3 teaspoons of sugar. Your pure apple juice is going to give you 8.6 teaspoons of sugar. So the first thing I do, I remove sugar from your diet. Ready glucose is like, when you take juice, that's so much sugar. So don't take juices. If you're diabetic, don't even touch it. Eat natural foods. Eat your fruit whole. You see, your fruit might give you a lot of sugar, but the body is going to utilize it very well, significantly. And so let's take another example. You see, all your starches, and most of us what can I say? We are addicted to starch. Your rice, your potatoes, your ugali. Rachel Kagari, please mute. Yeah? Your ugali. We take a lot of these things. You see, you can take your ugali, but how much? You can take rice, but how much? But I would like you to remember this, that just 150 grams, which is just about this much ugali, if you're depending on what the size of your face, about this much ugali is going to give you 10 teaspoons of sugar. So if you're taking 10 teaspoons of sugar and you exercise regularly, that's fine. But if you don't exercise in the long run, your body will not know what to do with it. Because the body knows what to do with food. But when you're unhealthy, you don't sleep, you don't drink water, you don't exercise, the body is not able to utilize that sugar. And look at fruits. These are all natural foods, by the way. So if you eat a banana, a regular large banana that we get in our market, it can give you 6 teaspoons of sugar. But remember, if you eat one banana, there's no problem. But if you're going to eat 4 or 5 bananas, then we have a problem. And so already your natural foods give you so much sugar. And then you're also going to take processed foods, like you take sodas, you take juices, you take refined carbohydrates, refined starch, like not processed. So let's go back to what our grandparents used to eat. The githeri, the mokimo, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is how much. It is how much. So your potatoes are the biggest killers. But remember, you can eat potatoes, but how much? So, parting shot, to lengthen thy lives, lessen thy meals. There's so much we can talk about when it comes to nutrition and everything, but let's just stop here. To lengthen thy lives, lessen thy meals. So just a small portion of food. Remember, you're not growing and developing organs anymore. You're an adult, you're now maintaining. So just reduce the portions that you eat. Secondly, taking drugs without eating properly is like washing hands and drying them in the dirt. And to be honest, most of the time the doctors send me patients like diabetic patients, when they cannot control the blood sugar. So if you're sitting here and you're diabetic and you have your friends or family who are diabetic or hypertensive or high cholesterol, your best friend is a dietitian. You need to see one if you're going to control these conditions. Most of the time people get sick and they end up paying so much money to these doctors, unfortunately, sometimes even having to leave your land because you're now sick. If you're diabetic, you don't have to go down that road. You don't have to get a kidney problem. You don't have to wait and get these complications. Diabetes is a condition that is described as a condition that affects the way your body uses food. So if you're not working with a dietitian to manage your diet, we have a problem. If you're hypertensive, let me give you a secret. People who have high blood pressure should not take animal protein at night, because the amino acid in the protein increases your blood pressure when you're sleeping. And if you eat meat at night, you will not control your blood pressure. So visit the dietitian. So in short, taking drugs without eating properly is like washing your hands and drying them in the dirt. And last but not least, genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. Even if in your family everybody's diabetic, it's your lifestyle that's going to expose you to that diabetes. You can still live long enough without being diabetic. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Njeru. I'll take questions now.
Wow. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. A lot of learning to do. And now we are in the Q&A session. And the procedure will be, if you have a question, you raise your hand, I'll be able to see it. Or if you have a question, you the chat part, you can chat on everybody and I'll be able to see your question and I will read your question. So just as we wait for the questions, Daktari, there's something you said that has really
okay, I'll help mute them.
A lot the right time. So I would really want to know, like, clarification on that. Then the other question.
Sorry, please say that again. I didn't get it. There was the interruption.
I'm saying that you confused me when you said eating less at the right time and no, eating less the wrong time and eating more the wrong time. I don't know.
I get you.
Yes. So if you can revisit that, because I think all of us are culprits in that. Then the other aspect is how do we, you see, what is really called the lifestyle diseases. at what point do we come to realization that really it is my lifestyle that has exposed me to these diseases? So those are my two questions, and I can see from
Okay.
Jennifer, Tanio.
I can see I can read the questions from the chat. Let me start with yours, then I can answer as we go, and then I go to the chat.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, so I said, what I meant is when we were doing the quiz, there were questions, and some of the questions was, what do you eat for breakfast? Is it something little, or are you eating too much at night? So one of the mistakes we make is to eat too little at the wrong time. It means, for example, at breakfast, you're waking up to go to work, you need to eat more food, but then you're eating little. So that's eating too little at the wrong time. And then at night, you're supposed to go to sleep naturally. You're created beautifully. You're supposed to rest at night. Then you go and eat a large meal. So that's eating too much food at the wrong time. And that is a mistake. So to make it simple, breakfast should be like a king and dinner like a pauper. Somebody just asked that question. I think I saw Jennifer. From the presentation, would you advise for people to eat full meals for breakfast as opposed to supper time? Yes, darling. If you're going to work, you need more food. So if I was to put all of you in a camp, I'd give you your meat, your ugali, and your vegetables or enshima for breakfast. And I'll give you a salad for dinner. Just make that changes and see the difference. I can promise you 3, 4, 5 days. If you're always having headaches, you're always feeling very tired and fatigued, then you will feel better within a very short time. And Dr. Njeri, you also asked, how do I know that I'm in line for a chronic problem? Definitely, your family history is a risk factor. But mostly, like I've said, genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. So when you start to get frequent headaches that you always, in your monthly shopping, you have to buy painkillers like Panadols, you have to buy antacids, then you know you're in line for a chronic condition. You have always having upper respiratory tract infections. So the more frequently you have flus, then the lower, that means your immune system is low and it's affected. It's your lifestyle that's the problem. And then you're getting fatigue. You're always tired no matter what. And sometimes I get patients who they've gone to the doctor, they've run a bill of maybe, let's say, $1,500. And the doctor says there's nothing. There's no problem. They've done x-rays, scans, blood tests. There's nothing. Because you're tired, you're not eating healthy. That's the problem. And so after they spend so much money is then they come. So that's a problem. Okay, what's your take on intermittent fasting? Very good question. Can I answer that as the last question?
Okay.
How do we burn fat from the body? So during exercise, the first few minutes of exercise, your body uses only glucose. And then when you extend that exercise for maybe 45 minutes, the first few minutes, your body uses glucose, and then it uses what we call glycogen stores, the carbohydrate stores. Then the longer you exercise, your body uses what you call free fatty acids. When you have a lot of fat, the fat produces what you call free fatty acids, and this is what gives you the risk factor for all those chronic conditions. So in short, the longer you exercise, then is eventually you're going to burn fat when you stop exercising. So if you want to burn fat, I put my patients on just 60 minutes of walking 5 days a week. And of course, changing their diet, then they lose the weight like a joke. So to lose fat, your exercise needs to be continuous for at least 45 minutes to 1 hour. If you're only exercising 15 minutes, you're not going to lose fat. But it's a good start. But then with time, the fat will drop like a joke. I hope that answers that question. And then the next question is, smoothies, good idea. Spinach smoothies, kale smoothies. Yeah. So people are living like, this is Western. I mean, we are in Africa. We never used to make smoothies. You know, like you make milk and vegetables and milk and fruit. As much as these are healthy sometimes, it's okay to have a smoothie once in a while, but it's always good to eat your food naturally. The minute you take that fruit, you see, Jehovah God created it whole like this. The minute you take the fruit and put in a blender, that 1,000 movements destroys a lot of nutrients. Your fiber, the oxygen exposes that juice. So you get, there's oxidation. So it's no longer healthy. It's not healthy at all. Occasionally you can take it, but as a dietitian, when I sit down to recommend what you eat, I never ever recommend juices. Never ever. Eat, when we say whole, it means eat your fruit whole. And in relation to fruit, something that I've seen that people do is, you know, they want to eat healthy, so then they take a lot of fruit. So you take a lot of fruit, like 5 fruits, and make juice and drink. So you convince yourself you're taking a lot of nutrients, but that's really dangerous. If I gave you 5 fruits, 5 oranges to eat, you don't finish them because you're going to get a lot of acidity, and so it's toxic. But if you make it into juice, it's very easy for you to take a glass of 5 oranges. But that's a lot of fructose. And fructose is the fruit from sugar. Fructose is now classified as the next tobacco because we are taking too much. So my advice is just eat the fruit whole. Do not make it into juice. When it comes to vegetables, your vegetables, unless somebody is sick and we need to increase some, utilize some absorption of nutrients, yes, they can make some vegetable juices, but that time you also need special blenders to be able to do that. But also your vegetables, they are quickly oxidated. In fact, spinach is the worst. Spinach forms what you call oxalate, and then you don't absorb it and it interferes with absorption of other nutrients. So you can't really make it into a juice unless you have a specialized blender that prevents oxygen from reacting to that. And those are like very expensive. So just cook your vegetable lightly and eat it. So somebody is asking, what foods do you recommend for breakfast? Okay, this is really, if I have to recommend what foods, then I have to sit down with you and find out what you eat, but mostly what is available to you. Just make a list of foods that are available to you. See what you can eat for breakfast, what you can eat for dinner. But all you have to remember is you need more in the morning and you need less in the evening. So I cannot be specific and tell you eat this and eat this.
Oppo F9, your hand has been up from Samuel. We give you a chance to talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Oppo F9. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, so I had 2 questions. One was a comment. My name is Richard. Mine is a comment. The first comment is that I'm a testimony to what Alice is saying. I've had elevated sugar for 10 years. I don't use medication anymore. Exactly the same things Alice is saying is what my doctor said 7 years ago. So I want to encourage everyone to listen and to create time to speak to Alice more elaborately on the matters of diet, matters of weight, weight index, and also on matters of just keeping yourself busy and active. The second piece, Alice, I wanted to ask you, there was a scenario where a dietitian actually took off a patient that I was taking care of from the healthier foods like the brown bread, the white brown ugali, and this heavy stuff, and reversed that and took them back to more soluble starch like white bread, white ugali, rice. And for some stroke of luck, the blood sugar just
brown bread.
What circumstances would then a diabetic patient then go back to foods that we deem to be high in sugar?
Okay, very interesting. Thank you very much, Richard, for your experience and sharing your successes. And thank you for the question. So I only remember having a few scenarios with diabetic patients. My diabetic patients have what we call, when we monitor their sugar, we have what we call glucose load, and then there's something we also call triggers. So you find that when a diabetic patient's 2 hours after meal, their blood sugar is supposed to be between 7 and 10 at the highest. but then you find that their blood sugars are 15 or 16, then it means that food is a trigger. And so, Richard, I found some patients who their sugar trigger is brown bread, brown rice, you know. So then when we find out what your sugar trigger is, then we remove that from your diet. And then I will allow you to eat your white bread because that's not a sugar trigger. So I have found that case. So especially when you're monitoring the blood sugars, then the patients learn a lot in their diet. And that's the only time I eliminate that food from the patient's diet. So I think maybe that could have been the case, especially if it was a diabetic patient, because I've had a few cases like that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Makes sense.
Yeah, so if you're diabetic, it's very important to take your sugars before meals, 1 hour after meals, and 2 hours after meals. You need to identify what increases your glucose load, what triggers your sugars. And if you eat certain food and 2 hours after your meal, your sugar is 15, 16, you know that's a food that you're not supposed to touch. Yeah, thank you. I still have some questions on the chat. Shall I go ahead, Njeru, Dr. Njeru?
Yes, just handle only 3 of them, then we finish.
Okay, let's see. What foods do you recommend? Acidity levels.
Yeah.
And intermittent fasting. Okay, 3. Acidity level, intermittent fasting. Yeah, and there are many others. So acidity levels, I've talked about one of the things that cause acidity is when you take fruit juice, lots of fruit juices. You blend your fruits, you end up taking 5 or 6 fruits. That is a sure cause for acidity because your fruits have got a lot of acid and you're supposed to take 2 to 3 fruits a day. Unless you're an athlete, you should take 5. And so, but when you're taking 5 in one glass, and so some people end up taking even 10 fruits a day. There's once I had a patient, okay, before that, the other thing is when you stay long hours without food, then you're also likely to suffer from acidity. You take nothing for breakfast the whole day. You see, every mealtime, your stomach produces acid to digest the food. So you don't take breakfast, you don't take lunch, then you take dinner. So there's a lot of acid produced to digest that meal, and there's overproduction, but not all of it is used up. So then there's always left up acid, and so then you end up having acidity, and it creates a lot of problem in the evening, so you don't sleep properly. Some forms of sometimes you also get acidity from just eating, adding acid to your food, like adding vinegar. So there's once I had a case for this patient who walked into my office and he was so angry with me. I thought he was going to hit me. And then I was wondering, what did I say? You know, I used to be on TV a lot. I was wondering, did I say something on TV? Is this somebody from Coke or whatever? But then he told me that what he did is he saw me on TV talking about acidity, and then he identified what causes his acidity. So this patient, every 3 months, he used to land in hospital because of acidity. And when you have high acidity, you even end up getting fits. But when he's in hospital, he was not acidic. Like just a few days in hospital, he's fine. And then he goes home, and after 3 weeks, he starts getting the problem. Within 3 months, it's too much, he has to go to hospital. In short, what was the problem? Every lunchtime, he used to eat a salad with vinegar. Every lunchtime. And so when he discovered that is what was causing his acidity, he was so angry because he had spent so much money. And so, yeah, so he wanted to kill the doctors, but he was also annoyed with me as a dietitian because I should do more education. So sometimes some people claim they take a lemon every day and they feel nothing, but that's acid. So if you take it every day, you're going to increase your acidity levels. And of course, all those things I've said. Intermittent fasting, that wanted to be the last question. So another one question and then intermittent fasting. You said 3. Go slow on sugar, oil, and salt. Okay, you know that. Okay, intermittent fasting. I think all the others are related to acidity and stomach issues. Intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, what do I have to say about it? I say I use intermittent fasting for some patients. Intermittent fasting can be a form of fat diet or it can be a healthy way of diet. So intermittent fasting is when you're given meals and you fast for certain hours. So there are many methods. You have what we call 5-2, 5-2 intermittent fasting. So it means you're eating properly for 5 days and then you fast 2 days. That is usually, I use it for very obese diabetic patients. And so I will give them that plan. And then we also have what you call 16-8. That means that you're fasting for 16 hours and you're eating for 8 hours. And then we have more severe ones, which is like you fast for 20 hours and eat for 4 hours. But what I use mostly for some patients, and I only advise you to go on intermittent fasting if you're ready to change your lifestyle. If you're ready to change how you eat, if you're ready to learn how to eat healthy and improve your lifestyle. Because also a lot of people use intermittent fasting as a fad diet. So they live their bad lifestyle, they do intermittent fasting. Of course, they're going to lose weight and feel better. Then you go right back to that lifestyle that was already a problem. So then you haven't changed anything. So intermittent fasting works. I use it on patients, but I only use 5-2 and 16-8. I don't use the severe forms of fasting for 20 hours and eating for 4 hours. No, that's too much. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much, Daktari. Thank you very much for your time. Even if you're not feeling very well, we wish you a quick recovery. And that was quite full. I think we need to invite you more and more so that we talk more on this topic. But I would ask you for consultation. Maybe you can put your email and phone number, contact on the chat so that everybody, those who want to contact you, can have a follow-up discussion. I'm really grateful for honoring these invites. And I hope members, we have learned a lot. We are all affected in one way or another. So I want to ask Juma, Rotarian Juma, to give a vote of thanks to our speaker for today. Then after that, we move to the next level. Is ISA Jackson, kindly be ready if you're there. So
yeah,
take
I'm
over.
here. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you so much, Dr. Patricio, very able president, for the invite to give the vote of thanks. Indeed, to me, this has been quite, I would say, a very fulfilling talk to me. And it's something that I resonate quite well with. And indeed, I think other members, it's quite a pleasure to have had Dr. Ojwang AA. And my take home basically is the fact that she's really mentioned it quite well, that we need to take good care of our circadian rhythm, if I got it well. But more above that is definitely the in-depth knowledge that is passed to us, that we really need to take good care of ourselves, take good care of our bodies. And more so, the call to members is that really we need to really make good choices that will enable us have a very fulfilling lifetime insofar as our health and nutrition is concerned. So thank you very much, Dr. Juang, and I think definitely we'll be reaching out to you more so that you can be able to learn more, so that you can be able to embrace some of the very exemplary facts that you've been able to push to us. So thank you so much, and may God bless you. And we wish you very quick recovery, because we could see definitely you're also not quite well today. But thanks so much. Asante. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Juma, for those kind words. I wish you all the best. Just remember, genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger.